Okay. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's the final time now. I'm going to say welcome to those of you who joined early, who've heard me say it 4 times now. But here we go. So today we're going to have, you're going to participate in a webinar with Mentimeter. We're going to do a basic webinar and basically go through a bit of inspiration on how you might use Mentimeter, some best practices for engaging meetings, and then a whole lot of possibility to ask all your Mentimeter related questions. This session is going to be interactive, so please join my presentation that you can do either by scanning the QR code with the phone on your camera or by going to menti.com on your phone or in a browser window and then type in that 8-digit code. Once you're in the presentation, give me a thumbs up. You will see a little reaction on your screen. So sometimes you have to scroll down a little bit, but it should be there in your device. So I can see that you are inside the presentation. My name is Emily. I'm a customer success manager at Mentimeter. So I'm basically helping a lot of our users with anything Mentimeter usage related. In the webinar today, I also have help from 2 of my colleagues. So you will see Ludwig and Justine helping me in the chat as well. So answering questions, sending a few links should there be a need for. So just know that if you're having any issues with the team meetings or anything like that, pop it in the Teams chat and they will be here to help. Nice. I can see that a lot of you have found the first interaction ability with Mentimeter, and that's the thumbs up. So good to see. Now let's get going. So, like I mentioned, my name is Emily and I will be your webinar host for today. If there's any of you who haven't yet connected to the presentation, please take some time and do so. You will have the join instructions on the top part of my presentation throughout the whole webinar. So then go to menti.com and use the 8-digit code. The reactions will be kind of put to 0 on every new slide. So know that you can, every time I switch slide, you have the possibility to go in and interact with the content. Apart from the reactions, the heart and the thumbs up, we also have 2 other interaction possibilities available today. The first one is called Q&A. So this is basically your go-to place to enter any of your Mentimeter questions. So on your devices, in the phone or in your browser, you will see a question that says Open Q&A. If you click on that one, you have the possibility to write your question and then send it to me, basically. It's going to be totally anonymous, and as soon as the moderator of today has kind of accepted the question, it's going to show up here, both for me and then also for the rest of the participants. And then you as participants have the possibility to kind of upvote a question if you think it's extra interesting. We have the moderation on today to just make sure that we keep the content as relevant as possible for all of you, as we have quite a big crowd. Last but not least, we also have the comments available for today. So on your devices, you will see, like that, little fires. You will see the possibility to send an instant message. So that is basically something that will be showing up on my screen for a few seconds, and just a great way to kind of cheer me on, add something onto what I'm saying, make a little joke, and basically comment on whatever content we're going through. Happy that I can see that you're trying it out. Good to know is that this session is all about you guys. I want to make sure to tailor it to your needs. So send in your questions, try out all the different engagement possibilities, and make sure that you really make the most out of Menti today. Nice. Let's start with a first check-in question. So this is a multiple choice question type. I am just asking you in the audience how often you've used Mentimeter so far. And as a check-in, it's a great way for me to make sure that I tailor the content to all of your needs, basically, and make sure that I put the relevant bits and pieces in. Oh, a very perfect normal, how to say, normal curve, a little bell curve happening here. Love it. So we seem to have a majority in the middle that have either used Mentimeter a few times or have only voted but never presented before. We have a big bunch of people for who this is their first ever Menti experience, and then a few advanced users. Nice. Good to know is that this webinar is, like I mentioned in the beginning, it's going to be a more basic one. But then in the end, we're also going to go over some best practices, which I think is always helpful, even if you've used Menti quite a lot before. And then if you have questions, put them in the Q&A. I see that we have two, so let's have a look at one just to see how it looks before we move over. So basically in the bottom right corner of each slide, I will be able to see how many people have participated in the current slide. And on the middle one, I will be seeing the number of questions that we have gotten already. I saw a question flashing up in the comments. Good to know is that those kind of go away very quickly, so they might be a bit tricky for me to catch. So pop them in the Q&A instead, so we have them kind of recorded. Now let's look at the first question. Will you be stipulating what features are included in the free accounts and what are only available on a paid account? Let's go through that. Most of our question types are available to both free and paid users, whereas more of our kind of collaboration-facing features are for paid accounts. We also have a restriction in Mentimeter when it comes to number of slides that is available for different users on free accounts. So as a free account, you can only post 3 questions, whereas on a paid account, you can create longer presentations. So this is a few of the differences as we go along, and I show you through. I'll make sure to mention more of those. And I believe one of my colleagues can also kind of put the link to the different descriptions of our plans in the Teams window for your reference. As you see here, we have a few thumbs up on this question. And how this Q&A feature works is that the question with the most thumbs up will end up in the top in the Q&A section. So a little pro tip from me is that when you see that there are questions in the Q&A, as a participant, you can go in and kind of have a look at them and make sure to upvote the ones that you would really like to have answered as well. And that makes sure that I will be answering the questions that are most relevant for the most of you, basically. I'm going to mark that answered, and then let's continue. So as for the agenda today, we're first going to very briefly go over the power of Mentimeter. We're then going to have a look at some use cases and examples, and then some best practices for increased engagement. As you've already seen, the Q&A is open and is going to be open throughout the session today. So pop them in the Q&A already now, and then I can make sure to kind of take a question here and there, and kind of between the different sections instead of saving them all to the very end. Nice. Okay, so the power of Mentimeter. This is going to be the only little theory part that I'm going over today. So just bear with me for 2 minutes, and then we'll get back to some more interactive questions again. So the power of Mentimeter. Mentimeter is basically an easy-to-use interactive presentation software. You've already tried out actually the very first question that we had in Mentimeter, the multiple choice one. So that's kind of how the journey of Mentimeter started, which is making sure that you get a little bit more interaction in long, boring meetings, basically. So our co-founders, they just got tired of sitting in long meetings, basically, and decided to start Menti. But from that kind of simple polling, multiple choice question, Mentimeter's grown a lot. And today it can be used to a whole like width of use cases. Our users are using Mentimeter to share knowledge, ask questions, seek feedback, brainstorm, prioritize their tasks, and of course also to understand kind of the experiences, the needs, and the emotions of their audience, the participants, their teammates, and so forth. With Mentimeter, you're able to interact anonymously, and this we have seen makes attendees like yourselves feel more inclined to participate. With Mentimeter, everyone is given a voice and everyone is heard. When you're in a live setting, sometimes it will be the most kind of extrovert people speaking a lot. There will always be someone who is always keen to kind of raise their hand, while there might be other people who also have great opinions but don't feel as comfortable with speaking up. With Mentimeter, every vote that comes in, every comment that comes in, every question that comes in have the same weight. They take up the same space. And in that sense, Mentimeter is kind of a democratic tool. And this also opens up for honest, transparent, inclusive and diverse opinions, and basically making sure that everyone gets heard in your meetings. Mentimeter is great for engagement, both in large settings like the one we're having today, but also in smaller meetings. We have a lot of users that use us just in their daily check-ins with their team, basically. Mentimeter can be used in a live presentation like today, or in a survey mode, basically. Last but not least, Mentimeter is a great way to raise the energy levels in your meetings by enabling easy participation. As you will have seen in the presentation already, there are multiple ways to make sure to include some more interactivity in your presentations, basically. You have the reactions that just basically people just need to press a little button, or they can send a comment, or they can answer a question, or answer the different questions. So there's really like a few different options for people to try out to find something that they are feeling comfortable with in order to participate. Nice. So that was it about the power of Mentimeter. Now it's time to look at some examples. Okay, so let's start with a really classic. This is our word cloud question type. And for this one, I would like you all to summarize the past month with one word. Yes, it's been a rainy month. I can definitely agree with you. And as we see, kind of as people respond, the word cloud will move around a little bit. And the words that are being submitted multiple times will be moved to the middle and be a bit bigger, basically. This is a really nice way to just kind of check in with people in the beginning of a session. It could be used as a kind of an icebreaker to set the tone. It could be used to get people to know each other a little bit. Or this one is also, for me, great to know where you guys are at kind of energy level-wise in this session. While you get a chance to answer, I'm going to take another question. How do you moderate without everyone seeing the questions you moderate? This happened to me last week when I was running a session. I will show you more once I kind of demo from the presenter point of view. But in the settings bit, you will have a little option that says moderation. And there's a link you can share with a colleague or something that will then get the possibility to basically accept or decline all questions that come into your Q&A section before they show up for the rest of the audience. I think we can maybe have a little help article sent on that as well, so you can have a more deep look on it after the session as well. But a really great question. Are all comments available after a presentation to review? We do save all the questions, but not the comments. So basically the comments are just instant messages that flash up for a little bit, a short amount of time. So just a way to kind of, yeah, like I mentioned, just add your little peace of mind to the conversation. If you want to rather like collect people's opinions properly, I would instead kind of suggest to use one of the question types, because in there, of course, all the answers are saved, or to make sure that people send their questions in the Q&A, because those are also saved after the session. So 9 people have liked this one. I'm going to take this as the last one for now. And let's see if we can have some more thumbs up on the rest. So I know that it's the absolute most relevant questions that we are looking at. We are a whole bunch of people in the meeting today, 143. So put your thumbs up on the questions so I know that we are spending our time wisely. Nice. Let's have a look at another example question. So for this one, it's called a ranking. As a presenter, I've just typed in my question, chosen the ranking question type, and then I have the possibility to basically create a few different options that people, my participants, you guys, then have the possibility to rank. So on your devices, you should see a little field. You have the possibility to then click, take the one you feel is most important for you. Then you can click and add another one, and another one, another one. And then you will also have the possibility to kind of drag and drop the different options so they come in a good order for you. And like you see, voices are trickling in. It's super interesting to see always. Oh, these are great. I'm like, oh, great values, and you guys seem like a very, very nice bunch, I gotta say. This is so cool to see. Yeah, so this is a question type that can, of course, be used to just as plainly as prioritize different tasks, but also like this to kind of get to know a group a bit better. Kind of straightforward in the use case, I hope. And there we have. I'll give you a few more seconds to answer. Looks like we have a tie between compassion, improving lives, and everyone counts. Really cool. Thank you all for answering the question. Okay, another question. So we've tried out the multiple choice question in the very beginning, and this is basically another way of using it. So in this example, I am asking how we can increase the overall health in our organization. And as participants, you now have the possibility to either choose one of them or multiple ones. So check on all the ones that you think you would appreciate to have in your organization. This is a great way to basically just crowdsourcing or feeling the interest for different options. Could be used in a team meeting or maybe for a team kickoff or anything like that. And it seems like healthy lunch options is the winner here. For this question, I've also gone along and added pictures basically to the different results as you see to make sure we have even more of a kind of visual impact here. With the multiple choice question, you can also decide if you want to have the percentage shown or if you rather want to see the number of votes. And that you just change by clicking with your pointer on one of the bars, basically. Nice. Let's take another question before we continue. Is there a way to embed Menti into a PowerPoint so it can be seen by attendees? Yes, we do have a PowerPoint plugin. It has a few limitations, and this is because Microsoft wasn't really built to handle a lot of engagement or interactions, basically. But there is a Mentimeter PowerPoint. Talk to your IT department, and then they can approve it, so it's available for you on your Office 365 package, basically. There is also the possibility to import your PowerPoint presentation into your Menti, and that I will also show a little bit later. Really great questions. Can a subscription for Mentimeter be purchased for a department and used by a number of presenters? Yeah, you can either buy a single license for Mentimeter, or you can kind of sign up for a team subscription with anything from 3 to 5, 10, or 50 licenses, depending on your needs. So that's absolutely possible. I will have the contact details to Ludwig, who will help us catch all of those needs in the very end of the presentation, but also ping him in the chat if you already now want to be connected with him. Nice. Let's have a look at another question. So this is one of my favorite ones. It's called scales. And as you see, as a presenter, I've entered my heading or question. I have put in 3 different statements, and then I've changed the axes. Today we're using strongly disagree to strongly agree, and then basically the span on which we are then ranking these 3. So this is a great way to, with very easily get a bit more data drivenness into your everyday kind of check-ins. So this example is around team efficiency and reflection. And it's used by one of our customers in their weekly team meetings, basically, to see how the levels of stress and kind of more of the security factors are being affected over time. So with this question, you have the possibility to then, first and foremost, see the average of all the responses that have come in. So for the feel engaged and safe, we have an average of 3.9 now from all the different submissions. Out of 5 should be said for this one. That's the kind of range that I have. But what's really great with this question type is that if you take your pointer and hover it over kind of this little graph in the background, you will also be able to see the actual distribution of people's responses. Today, it seems like you are quite aligned for the first 2. So we have a kind of clear peak around 4 out of 5 on these ones. But on the last one, on the other hand, we have a very wide spread. And even though kind of the average looks quite all right, we have 21 and 22 people and 13 people down here that have reported they're kind of high in the stressed and anxious levels. So being able to just very quickly and briefly just drill down to the data that you're collecting in this visual way is something that can really help also to take action on this. For a question like this, if this was a team session with us, I would also kind of suggest to follow up with more of an open-ended question and ask about suggestion on what could be done, or what do you need help with, or what can I support with in order to make sure to kind of lower the stress levels. Very powerful. Yeah, I do agree. Seeing data like this is, it just hits you or make a bigger impact, basically, than if you just see it in a list or something like that. Okay, so now this question, what would you rather I do next, is actually a little task for you guys, because this one is open for your decision. So now we are almost half an hour into the webinar. I can either now demo how to create and share a Menti presentation from kind of the presenter view now, or we can skip that part if you all feel more confident in that, and put a bit more time into the Q&A. I have closed the voting for now, and that's just because I wanted to kind of intro the question for you guys, but I'm gonna go ahead and open it. If I take the pointer and go to the bottom of the screen here, I have the possibility to open voting. So now, please let me know if you would rather I demo how to create a Menti presentation briefly, or if you would rather that we spend a bit more time in the Q&A. And also here, very visual, demo is leading right now. I will give you a few seconds to just make up your mind before we continue. Nice. It seems like a little demo is on the menu, I was about to say. Nice. User guide available on the line. You know what? Pop that in the Q&A and I will have a think about it. Amazing, great. See that you're trying out the comments. Okay, let's leave the presentation for now then, and I will show you my view of Mentimeter. If you want to leave the presentation, I just take my pointer and go to the X in the top left corner. So hello and welcome to Mentimeter Editor. This is how the presentation looks once you're setting it up, basically. On the left-hand side, you have the entire presentation. So basically all of the slides that we've been going through so far. In the middle part, we have the question as it looks right now. And on the right-hand side, we have the different settings for a specific slide. If you would like to create a new question, you just hit on this one, new slide. What you then have to do next is to decide what question type you would like to do. And good to know is that we have quite a few. So at top, we will see the popular ones. Further down, you will see the quiz section, our content slides, which you will have seen a few examples of today already, and then our more advanced question types as well. If you hit add more, you will also see our kind of slide library where we have added a few new question types that are still being a bit evaluated, I would say. See if any of them might make it to the main question panel. You hit multiple choice, then you just type your question and add your options. If you would like to add another options, you can just press on this gray one to have a new one. If you would like to add a few images to the different options, you can also do that by pressing on the little icon on the right-hand side. And here you have the possibility to either upload an image, search for one in an image library that's available for all our users, or in the GIF gallery. So basically, as soon as you've added your questions and your option, your question will be ready to be displayed for your audience. However, if you like, there is also some kind of other additional design choices that you can make. So for example, you can upload an image if you want to have it kind of personalize your slide even more. You can add the result, change the result layouts, and further down we have some extra kind of settings bit. So all of these changes that I'm doing on the right-hand side are kind of belong with this single questions. If I instead would like to do changes that affects the entire Mentimeter presentation, I have to go to this button called Settings. So everything that is changed under this settings view basically then affects all of the slides in the presentation. The most important bit to know here is that we have, like I mentioned in the very beginning, two different ways to hold a Menti presentation. You can have it live, like we're doing today. I, as a presenter, I'm deciding which question type you guys are seeing and when we're switching to the next one. Or you can choose to instead have your Menti as a survey. And then you have to just switch it to audience pace, basically. Audience pace basically means that everyone who's voting on the presentation will have the possibility to kind of flip through the slides at their own pace instead. So like any survey you would have filled out. Other good settings to know about on this bit is this is where you turn on the Q&A. So I have decided to have Q&A open on all slides today. You can also limit it to only have it on specific Q&A slides. So basically the question type that is called Q&A. Here you also have the moderation feature. So like you see today, I have moderation turned on. I can flip it off as well or turn it on at any moment in the presentation. And then I've shared this link with one of my colleagues who are then kind of looking through the questions and making sure we only get the most relevant ones into the Q&A section. And this here you also have the possibility to turn on or turn on off comments from the audience. Good to know with Mentimeter is that all settings changes that you do are instant. So you don't have to worry about having forgotten anything before the session starts. You can just go in here and change any settings that you like, also during a meeting or a presentation if you realize that you've forgotten anything. Down here at the very end, we also have the possibility to change the presentation language. So if I would rather have the join instruction in Swedish, for example, which is my mother tongue, I can change that here. And here we also have the possibility to turn on the profanity filter. Nice. Once I've created my presentation, I would, of course, like to share it with people. So let's have a look at the share button. As for sharing a Menti presentation, there are 3 different ways of doing so, or 3 different modes of doing so. We have the possibility to share it with participants, and that you have all been trying out today. That is basically making sure that we get our participants into the voting view. And that you can do in a few different ways. There is a voting code that you've all seen today. There's a voting link, and there's a QR code. So all of these 3 ways are kind of equal in the sense that they all get your participants into your presentation. Good to know, however, is what you see here. The voting code is only valid for a set amount of time. So like you see here, it will expire in 2 days. This is for security reason, to make sure that no one kind of stumbles into the wrong presentation. If you're having a live presentation like I'm having today, then go ahead and use the voting code, as people will have kind of joined and left by the time the code expires. If you're instead using Mentimeter as a survey and you want to have your presentation open for a longer amount of time, my suggestion would instead be to use the voting link or the QR code, as these 2 are static. They never change. So those are good to use if you would like to have, like I mentioned at the beginning, your Mentimeter open during a longer time. Let's have a look at this bit instead, invite collaborators. And this would be one of the features that is only available for someone on a paid subscription, and more precisely on someone on a pro or an enterprise plan. This is basically the possibility to do live edits on a presentation together with one of your colleagues. So like you see today, I've added Ludwig and Justine to my presentation so they could review it together with me, catch any of my spelling mistakes, and just all over make sure that the presentation was top-notch before we went into this webinar. You just type in your colleague's email and then click invite to have them as a collaborator. The last bit that's good to know is about presentation sharing. So use this link if you want to share all the results from your presentation after the presentation is finished, basically. The people receiving this link will then see all of the questions with the different graphs and results. I am going to jump back into the presentation in just a little moment, but just because you asked earlier, if you want to upload your PowerPoint presentation into your Mentimeter, then this import button is what you use. Then you can take your entire PowerPoint presentation and drag and drop it into your Menti. Last thing that's good to know is that this little blue chat bubble in the bottom right corner is how to access our support. So if you would need any help, this is a great way to reach out and send a message to any of our super competent and nice support people. So either you can send them a live message in a chat, or you can search for any of the help articles down here. But now let's jump back to the presentation. That I do if I want to present is click on this blue button. So let's do that. And as this is kind of a test question, let's skip that one. So now we're going to go over some best practices, but let's take one question before we jump into that. When setting up presenter slides, how do you change the time period the Menti code is valid for? For example, so you can set up slide days ahead of your presentation. So basically your Menti, like the code, it's never gonna disappear completely. As soon as you do edits in your presentation, it's gonna be updated. So you don't have to worry about your Menti being without a join code. So like you see, every Mentimeter presentation will have this code. It's just a matter of kind of that the code will be a new one. So yeah, it's more on kind of making sure that you don't share the code with your participants before it might change, so to say. So that's why if you're just creating a presentation that your participant, you're going to use it in a live session, everyone will be joining at the same time. So then basically you can just prep your presentation well in advance, and then everyone will be able to join on the day. I saw a little comment there. There is also a possibility to elongate the code expiration if you would like to, but I think it's super important that you also just know that your presentation will never be without the code, and it's not going to be like closed down. So it's basically just making sure that you have the right code for your participants. Really great question, though. Thank you for asking it. Does Mentimeter have accessibility features for visual or neurodivergent impairments, for instance? This is such a great question, and the ally topic is something we are discussing a lot at Mentimeter right now. Overall, the participant bit of Mentimeter is quite well adapted for any accessibility needs. We are not perfect, however, but we are compliant with VPAT and VCAG at least. We will also make sure to pop the accessibility help article in the chat now as well. But of course, we can always improve. And if there's any specific features or settings that you wish we had that we don't, like, let us know. But I would say for the participant view, Mentimeter is quite well adapted in the kind of field of accessibility. Such a great question. Thank you for asking it. Okay. Can you hide result coming in and only display the final result? So as not to have people answer in reactions to previous votes. Okay, this is actually a great one. So I'm going to show you on the next one because now it's time for some best practices. And let's hide the results. So I hide the results just by pressing the H, basically, the letter H on my keyboard, or by taking my pointer and going to the menu bar in the bottom left-hand corner and then clicking hide result. Now it says show because if I want to show it again. And as you see then, people can answer without being influenced by each other. But to the best practices. So the first best practice to make sure you create really engaging session is to make sure to always start with an icebreaker. We have seen that when you make sure to engage your audience early, I lost the word now. I'm very sorry. They will have a bigger kind of they will stay engaged basically to a greater extent throughout the rest of the presentation. So make sure to engage them early to have your audience stay engaged throughout your session. With an icebreaker like this one that I'm chosen today, it's also a great way to kind of warm up your meeting space a little bit, make sure that people join the presentation and understand how they can kind of interact with it before you start tackling the more kind of heavy content, so to say. And last but not least, a question like this one is also great input for me as a presenter, as I will kind of get a sense of where my audience is, like energy-wise, before I start speaking, and then I can tailor my content accordingly. Okay, so we have a lot of people that have answered. I'm going to now press H on my keyboard to show the results. And it's all over the place. I love it. Let's see now. Every dot is answer, basically. And if a lot of people have put the pin in the same place, you will see it get bigger and then the count going up in the middle. So this is just a very easy way for both me as a presenter and you as an audience to see where you guys are at in this session. What a lot of good voice. Yes, definitely a lot of good voice. You cannot have a webinar with at least one good boy meme, right? Right? Okay, nice. This question type is called pin on image for everyone who want to check it out after the session. Another best practice is to show the QR code. So this I think you saw in the very beginning. And I would just say that having people join the presentation with the QR code is the absolutely most smooth way to join a Menti presentation. You don't have to worry about like typing the web address wrong. You don't have to worry about remembering the code. Then you can just take your phone, scan the QR code, and then jump straight into the Menti presentation. You can incorporate the QR code like this, like there's a specific question type that is called instructions. You can either have it like this, or you can show the voting instructions like at any time you would like by pressing the letter I on your keyboard. And then it looks like this. So this is basically a way to just flash up the voting instructions for a few seconds or how long you would like them to be open if you need your audience to kind of rejoin at any moment. And then you remove it either by pressing the H or by pressing the letter I on your keyboard again. So the third best practice for making your sessions more engaging is to make sure to have a mid-meeting assessment. It can be something like this one. What do you think of the tempo of today's session? To make sure that you can go a bit slower or faster if people want you to. It could also be something like, what do you think of the content today? Is it tricky or are you following along? Or, you know, the this and that one that I showed before, why not use that one and be like, do you want to continue for another 30 minutes and then add a bit early? Or would you rather have a short break and that we use the full hour, for example? Nice. It seems like you like my tempo, so that's good to hear. Nice. I was worried I was going a little bit too fast, and I see that some people think I might be. But if there's anything you want me to like reiterate it, pop it in the Q&A, and I will see if we have time at the end. For the fourth best practice is we have engage often. So basically, the Mentimeter magic formula for how to create engaging presentation is to make sure that at least every fourth slide is a question slide. So you start by engaging your people and making sure that they get into your tool and get engaged in the beginning, and then you keep engaged often and have question slides continuously throughout the presentation to help people basically stay focused, not like wander about into their Outlook or start thinking about what they want to have for lunch. And then also help people to kind of reflect on the content that's coming in. Basically, yeah, reflect on the content that's that we're going through, and make sure that they kind of stay on top of their mind a little bit more. Another best practice when it comes to engagement is to make sure that you have reactions enabled. So on this slide, for example, you see that I have the thumbs up and the question mark. I saw a comment about it being a bit confusing. Good to know is that as a presenter, you have the possibility to turn off the comments. You can turn off the Q&A. You can also remove all the reactions. So that's entirely up to you. And today we just try to kind of show you the entire kind of buffet of features that are available, basically. But yeah, for reactions, they are especially powerful on a slide like this one that is kind of a typically information sending slide. So if you would use a PowerPoint, for example, it would be a static one, and you as a presenter would just be basically talking and the rest of the participant listening. With having the reactions on, you give the participants a possibility to feedback a little bit while you're speaking. I actually learned from one of the professors that I work with a little bit that he usually enables the question mark when he goes through topics that he kind of feels that his students might think is an extra bit tricky. So then people can just say like, I'm not following along. Then they can press the question mark. They don't have to raise their hand. They don't have to like post a question. They can just be like, this is tricky. And then he knows that that topic might be a good thing to take up in the session afterwards. Or maybe have a little like question and answer session outside of the teaching session where people can just ask about it in more depth. So yeah, every fourth slide as a question, and then make sure to enable reaction on your content slides. The last best practice is about using collaboration and basically making sure that you tap into the competence of your entire team when you're preparing your presentation. And like I showed you before, it's not trickier than pressing on the share button and then basically typing in the email addresses of the ones you want to share your presentation with. If you're on a paid team account, you also have the possibility to create templates. So basically, if you're having recurring team meetings, maybe you're having project retrospectives, or any other of those kind of recurring sessions, then you can prepare a meeting template and share it as kind of, as a template with your team that people can then make a copy of and reuse in their sessions. So that's also a way to kind of make sure that you use the entire competence in your team. So either add your colleagues as collaborators or save your presentations as a template for the rest of your team to access. So that was it about the best practices, and we are reaching the end of kind of my prepared presentation. Let's take one more question before the last wrap up. Yeah, hide result. Great, this one we took. So basically press H on your keyboard to hide results. Is it possible to collect score and add to a database so they can be analyzed? I think I've seen this done with Excel. Yes, after when you're on a paid account, you have the possibility to download all the results that you've collected in Mentimeter as an Excel. And then you, of course, have the possibility to do any analysis that you want on that data. So that's for the paid accounts. You have the possibility to, like I mentioned, download this as an Excel. Okay, let's see. So for our little checkout question, what would you like to use Mentimeter for? So this is a multiple choice question where I have kind of changed up the layout a little bit. And then we will see the answers trickling in, basically. So a lot of little spheres coming in. Nice to see. It's going to be interesting to see if it fits, but I think it does. Good that we have the little numbers as well, so I don't have to go along and start counting these ones one by one, right? Training sessions, workshops, team meetings, icebreakers are in the lead right now. Nice. We have answers all over the place, it seems like. Good to know. I am looking forward to kind of hearing about how you've used Menti. So if you ever do a presentation that you're extra proud of, let me know. I'm always super curious to hear kind of how our users have found Mentimeter. Nice. Okay, so like I mentioned, I have a colleague that's more than happy to kind of help you along. Ludwig, he just gave a little wave. So that's his email if you're interested in Mentimeter for Teams, basically. So yeah, hit him up. I think he will type his email address in the chat window as well, so you have it ready to be copied. Okay, we have a few more minutes, so let's have a look at some more questions. And before we do that, please, all of you, go into the Q&A section and give thumbs up to the questions that you would like me to answer. So I do the most relevant ones first. Nice, and let's give thumb. Oh, I've missed the H, have I? Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's very evident that English is not my native language. Very sorry. You're gonna have to live with that. I'm very sorry. Okay, keyboard tricks. Let's go. So if you hit, or if you take your mouse pointer to the bottom left side, you will see this one, the little H that says Open Hotkeys Overview. And these are basically all the keyboard shortcuts that is available for you as a presenter. So there's a whole lot of them. And as you kind of go on your Menti journey, you will see that some of these sticks as your favorite. I would say that my personal favorite ones is the escape button to leave the presentation. You just have to hit it twice to go all the way back to editor view. Another favorite of mine is H, as I've already showed you, to hide or show the results. And good to know with this one is you can flip it on and off several times on each question. So you don't have to be like scared about losing results if you've kind of missed to hide them in the very beginning. They will all be collected, they're just not shown. Another favorite one is, of course, the showing the instructions link. When we have big like weekly meetings here at Menti, you will always have someone like, can you show the QR code? You have it to like press it, flash it up, people can join, and then you take it away again. Which other one is good? I would say the Q is also a favorite one of mine to show, like to bring up the Q&A module, basically. But yeah, try them out. They're all good, I would say. Nice, really great question. Which template did you use for the dog question? There was actually not a template, but I Googled. I think it was something like, how are you feeling today? Scale dog or something like that in Google. And then you will find a few different examples that you can borrow, I would say. I do think if you check, we have a templates page at Mentimeter as well. So mentimeter.com/templates. And there you should be able to see a few different like example checking questions as well. And I do think there is one, if not with dogs, there should be a Nicolas Cage one that you can like borrow if you would like. I will show you the link to the templates library in the very end. Can you do an advanced session? Oh, that's a good question. A good thing to know is that we have something called Menti Academy, and that's basically your go-to place for like self-paced Mentimeter trainings. There you can have, I saw someone before asking about like a more thorough on how to create a presentation from scratch that you can also find in Menti Academy. So academy.mentimeter.com. So we have a basic course there. We also have an advanced one. So check that out, I would say. But I'm flattered also. Thank you. Can you get a report at the end of the presentation as to who has interacted and who hasn't? So depends on how you read this question a little bit. Like I mentioned, Mentimeter is anonymous. So as a default, you won't be able to see who, as in name and email, has interacted and who, but interacted and not. However, if you download the results, you will be able to see kind of each participant will have their own row in the Excel file. So there would be like participant 1 and then all the different questions, and you will be able to see like the different answers on those questions. So from that sense, you can see if there are a few participants that haven't been in there at all. But as a default, Mentimeter is anonymous. So if you don't actively ask people to submit their personal details, you won't know it at the end. But there is up to you as a presenter to kind of set your session up however you would like it. Okay, only 2 minutes left. So let's check at some additional resources to help you after this session. So we have a whole lot of different materials. The Help Center is a great place to start your Mentimeter journey. So in there you will see a lot of different help articles, step-by-step guides and stuff like that for doing basically anything in Mentimeter. If you're having problems setting up a pin on image question type, check in our Help Center. Or inviting a colleague, check the Help Center. So a good place to have a look. Then we have the blog, mentimeter.com/blog. There we update with any new features that we release, with a whole lot of user stories and what happens at our office and stuff like that. Then we have, like I mentioned before, a templates library. So your go-to place to find like ready-made Menti presentation that you can copy to your account just with a click. And then we have our support. So hello@mentimeter.com if you want to email them, or like I showed before, the chat bubble, if you want to instead have a live chat. And that's it for today. Thank you all for following along. Yes, we do have YouTube. Good place. There you will also be able to see some instructions. I need to know though add that to the research page. Good. Thank you for showing it, or like for reminding me. But thank you for today, everyone. This has been great. Lots of good questions. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me and my colleagues know if there's anything else you would like help with. So take care and have a nice rest of your day.